A mother who gave her son the freedom to become who he truly is. It wasn't your typical party. In truth, it was more of an excuse for the adults to gather, sip their drinks, and unwind. Bringing the kids along simply made it all seem more appropriate. After all, everyone else did the same. Because of that, the neighborhood kids became their own little circle. They weren't always best friends in the usual sense, but they were a constant presence whenever the adults got together. That alone made those friendships matter. So naturally, you tried to make the most of them. Back in elementary and middle school, these gatherings were one of the few chances boys and girls had to actually spend time together, especially if they were a grade or two apart. Unlike birthday parties that were often divided, these neighborhood get-togethers created a different kind of atmosphere. One where people interacted more freely, sometimes a little awkwardly and often a bit performatively. The Baker Street group was lucky in that regard. Most of them fell within the same age range. Bridget, Mary, Hikari, Dale, and Beckett were all in 8th grade, while Ronnie and Talia trailed just a year behind. Every now and then someone new would join in, like Tessa, an 8th grader from across town and one of Hikari's close friends. The core group had practically grown up side by side. From Halloween nights and Easter egg hunts to end-of-school celebrations and spontaneous block parties, they had shared years of memories. Tonight was just another addition to that list. Hikari's dad, Mr. Tommaso, had decided to uncork a special bottle of wine, fire up the grill, and invite everyone over. As usual, the kids gravitated to their familiar spot, the upstairs playroom. It was still cluttered with old toys, board games, and dusty video game consoles. Things they had once loved but had long since outgrown. Still, the room itself held on to its charm, more for the memories than the entertainment. They sprawled across the floor in uneven, uncomfortable positions, half bored and waiting for someone to suggest something to do. Then Hikari broke the silence. "You know what we haven't played in forever?" she said, a hint of mischief in her voice. "Truth or dare." The suggestion hung in the air. Truth or dare was never just a simple game. It was unpredictable. Sometimes it fizzled out because no one wanted to push boundaries. Other times, it spiraled into chaos when people pushed a little too far. And tonight, it felt like it could go either way. It was always a tricky line to walk and everyone knew it. Dale had even warned them earlier. This never ends well. It always turns into, "Who's your crush?" and "Go tell your parents you pooped your pants" territory. "When was the last time we actually played?" she asked. 2 years ago, someone answered. Dale shrugged. "We're older now. The kids are older too. We could actually make it fun this time." A quiet ripple of interest spread through the room. No one wanted to be the first to say yes out loud, but the sudden hush and the way eyes darted around said everything. The collective vibe was clear. "Let's try it." "All right then," Dale grinned, turning to Hikari. "Truth or dare?" "Truth." "Who's your crush?" Hikari rolled her eyes. "I knew this game was stupid." Dale laughed. Fine fine. I was just messing with you because of what you said earlier. Real question. What color underwear are you wearing right now?" Hikari barely hesitated. With a straight face she answered, "Gay." A wave of nods and quiet chuckles moved across the group. "My turn," Dale announced, scanning the circle. "Bridget, truth or dare?" "Dare." Bridget shot back without missing a beat. She had always been the bold one. Dale's grin widened. "Take your shirt off." The room went still. Even Bridget paused, suddenly aware of how far this had jumped. With siblings sitting right there in the same circle, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. But they were older now, and older kids did way crazier things. She glanced at the girls watching with wide-eyed curiosity and the boys who had suddenly gone completely motionless, afraid to blink. With a deep breath, she pulled off her green tank top, revealing a simple white bra hugging her newly developing chest. The shift in energy was instant. What had felt casual and half-bored a minute ago snapped into sharp, electric focus. Tessa, especially, couldn't believe her neighborhood friends had never taken a game this far before. Still topless, Bridget turned to Beckett, eyes gleaming. "Truth or dare?" Seeing the direction things were heading, Beckett swallowed hard. "Truth." "Who stole my bathing suit at the pool party last summer?" Before she could even finish the question, Beckett blurted out, "Wait, never mind. Dare. Dare, dare." Bridget smirked. She could have forced the truth, but she was clearly enjoying where this was going. "You sure? All right, switch clothes with Mary." Beckett protested immediately. "Hey, you can't drag someone else into it." That's not how it works. Bridget shrugged innocently. One dare per person, right? Fine. She turned to Mary. Mary, truth or dare? Mary, caught off guard but game, answered, dare. Switch clothes with Beckett. And just like that, Beckett was trapped. He knew there was no graceful way out now. Mary simply added, no underwear, and no one bothered arguing. To make the swap easier, Mary slipped into the bathroom next door while Beckett squeezed into the toy closet, just enough room for him to stand and change. They stripped down and passed their clothes to Bridget, who acted as the awkward middleman, shuttling outfits between the two doors. Now wearing each other's clothes, Mary and Beckett finally stepped out. Mary emerged first, looking surprisingly convincing in Beckett's baggy New York Knicks jersey that draped loosely over her frame, paired with his black basketball shorts that reached her knees. She'd even cocked his oversized flat-brim cap sideways on her head, her blonde ponytail tucked up inside it, giving her face a cheeky, almost boyish look. With a dramatic flair, she dropped into a low stance, throwing up two sideways peace signs just like Beckett always did when he impersonated his favorite rappers. She exaggerated his swaggering walk, lowered her voice and struck a pose. The whole room burst into applause and laughter. Beckett, still stuck in the toy closet, could hear the commotion and the teasing. He grumbled under his breath at first, but the laughter sounded light-hearted, so he decided to lean into it. The closet door flew open dramatically. He struck a pose, holding his hand up to his ear like an old-school flip phone, and launched into the most exaggerated Valley Girl voice he could manage. Oh my God, Bridget, can you even believe he did that to me? You boys are such pigs, you guys. Am I right? The room exploded. The impression was spot on, and the outfit made it even funnier. Beckett now wore Mary's brightly patterned vest-style top and her black flare pants, which clung to him in ways that felt strangely different. He tried not to think too hard about how soft the fabric was or how the clothes carried Mary's faint, sweet scent. At least she hadn't been wearing a dress. That would have been a nightmare. Grinning through the embarrassment, the two of them hammed it up for a minute, doing a quick back-and-forth skit pretending to be each other. The laughter felt good, warm, silly and bonding. Eventually they both plopped back down into the circle, still chuckling. It was Beckett's turn now, and he was determined to get a little revenge for being the loser of the last dare. A fun pattern of boys daring girls and girls daring boys had naturally formed, so he kept it going. He looked across the circle at Hikari, the one who had kicked things off earlier. Hikari, truth or dare? Dare, she answered instantly, eyes sparkling with challenge. He was always like that, fearless and up for anything. Beckett smirked. I dare you to kiss Tessa. A heavy, electric silence dropped over the room. Some kids leaned forward with excitement, others shifted uncomfortably. Hikari raised an eyebrow. Didn't we just agree that two-person dares aren't fair? Beckett laughed sheepishly. Tessa, truth or dare? Tessa, caught in the middle of this whirlwind she'd never experienced with her own friends, saw the trick immediately. It was the exact same move Bridget had pulled earlier. Still, she played along confidently. Truth, she said. Beckett grinned. Hey, who in this room would you most want to kiss? Tessa's heart did a little flip. The honest answer popped into her head instantly. Beckett. His easy confidence, that playful swagger, the way he always seemed up for adventure. She'd been quietly crushing on him for the better part of a year. But there was no way she could say that out loud, especially not with him sitting right there watching her. She quickly scanned the circle. Dale? No way. Ronnie? Definitely not, he was younger and that would feel too weird. That left the girls. The safest, most believable choice was Hikari. They knew each other pretty well and it wouldn't be as awkward to play off. Hikari obviously, Tessa answered with a bright laugh, pulling her into a big dramatic hug. Just look at her. Hikari laughed along, but a mischievous glint appeared in her eyes as she hugged Tessa back. She clearly saw an opportunity to take things up another notch. Hikari's protest had mostly been for Tessa's sake, but at 12 years old she felt old enough to start testing the limits herself. With a playful grin she waved Tessa closer. "Aw, come here you." She leaned in and planted a big exaggerated kiss right on Tessa's cheek. It was silly and innocent enough to pass off as a joke, but the boys still sat there with wide, goofy smiles, clearly thrilled they'd gotten at least a taste of what they'd been hoping for. Dale watched the whole thing secretly a little confused. He didn't really understand why other guys found girl-on-girl stuff so exciting, but since everyone always said it was hot, he nodded along and pretended to be impressed too. Peer pressure was a funny thing. Now it was Tessa's turn. She looked across the circle at Ronnie, who had been unusually quiet the whole time. "Ronnie, you've been awfully quiet over there," she said, locking eyes with the shy boy. Ronnie was Hikari's younger brother, and Tessa knew him well enough to tease him without it feeling mean. To Ronnie, Tessa was easily the prettiest of Hikari's friends, so having her call him out felt both exciting and terrifying. "Truth or dare?" she asked. He knew he couldn't pick truth if he wanted to keep up with the older kids. That would make him look like a little kid dodging questions. Swallowing his nerves, he answered, "Dare." Tessa smiled. "Hikari, do you still have any of those old Halloween costumes from when we were younger?" "Yeah," Hikari replied, pointing. "They're all in that little dress-up chest over there." Tessa walked over, rummaged around for a moment, then pulled something out and hid it behind her back with a mischievous grin. "Ronnie," she announced, "I dare you to wear this." She dramatically revealed the costume bag. The front showed a picture of Snow White. Ronnie instantly recognized it as the one his sister had worn a couple of years ago. His stomach dropped. He was still a year younger and hadn't hit his growth spurt yet, so he and Hikari were pretty much the same size. That made it even worse. He gulped, glancing over at Beckett, who was already stuck in girls' clothes. At least Beckett's outfit looked somewhat normal. This felt like several levels more embarrassing. With a reluctant sigh, Ronnie stood up. "All right." He took the bag and headed toward the bathroom Mary had used earlier. The thought of having to walk back through the hallway in whatever was inside made his heart race. What if an adult saw him? As he opened the door to leave, Tessa called after him loudly, "Don't forget the stockings." Just loud enough for everyone to laugh and for Ronnie to worry that a parent might overhear. While Ronnie was changing, the group took a short break. The mood in the room felt surprisingly good. Better than any of them had expected. The girls were clearly enjoying messing with the boys, and the guys, even if they wouldn't admit it out loud, loved the attention and making the girls laugh. Light jokes bounced around, and Beckett and Mary kept doing silly impressions of each other, keeping the energy fun and relaxed. A few minutes later, the bathroom door creaked open. Ronnie nervously poked his head out into the hallway, checking both ways like a spy on a mission. Seeing no adults, he made a mad dash for the playroom door, the skirt swishing around his legs as he ran. He yanked the door open, slipped inside and quickly shut it behind him, breathing hard. There was no big dramatic entrance, but since the whole group had a clear view of the door, he was instantly on full display. The most striking part of the outfit was the big, bright yellow skirt, puffed out by a built-in petticoat. It only reached the middle of his thighs, where it met the tops of opaque white thigh-high stay-up stockings. Each stocking was topped with a large yellow bow that perfectly matched the skirt. The Snow White dress fit Ronnie surprisingly well. The rich blue bodice hugged his torso with red accents and fake corset laces running down the front. Large white puff sleeves sat on his shoulders, and a wide yellow headband with a big red bow sat perched on his black hair. White fingerless gloves completed the look. He looked cuter than anyone had expected, almost adorable in a way that made the whole thing even funnier. The same outfit that had looked borderline too mature on Hikari a year ago now came across as innocently sweet on her younger brother. The room immediately filled with teasing cheers and playful jeers. "Look at you, princess. Ronnie, you're actually kinda pretty. Work it, Snow White." Ronnie tried to brush it off with an embarrassed laugh, waving them away. All right, shut up." But his eyes kept drifting back to Bridget, who still hadn't put her shirt back on. That sight had been stuck in his head since her dare. Part of him wanted to march straight back to Tessa and hit her with an equally humiliating dare to get even. But the loudest laughter in the room had come from Talia, who was practically crying from giggling so hard. She had somehow stayed completely untouched by the game so far, and that made her the perfect target. "Talia," Ronnie said, the yellow skirt swishing around his thighs with every step. "Truth or dare?" "Truth," she answered calmly. Ronnie wasn't satisfied with the safe choice. He smirked. "You cheated on the math test last week." "Sorry, that wasn't a question. My real question is, do you stuff your bra?" The room went tense. Talia's face turned bright red. The girls immediately jumped in defensively. "Hey, that's way too far." Mary snapped. "You can't just ask something like that," Bridget added, while Hikari looked ready to pile on. Ronnie tried to defend himself. "Come on. I'm standing here in a freaking dress and I can't ask that. The argument was heating up fast when Talia suddenly raised her voice above everyone else. It's fine, guys. It's just the game. Her tone was surprisingly confident for the youngest in the group. The others quieted down, not wanting to ruin the fun when things had been going so well. Talia looked Ronnie straight in the eyes. No, I don't stuff my bra. Ronnie pushed anyway, still riding the wave of embarrassment from his own outfit. I don't believe you. That was a dangerous line in Truth or Dare. Calling someone a liar basically broke the trust of the whole game. Talia stared at him for a second, then tilted her head with a bold little smile. You want to find out? Before Ronnie could even process what she meant, Talia gently took his gloved hand and guided it under her shirt, placing his palm directly against her chest. Does that feel like stuffing to you? She asked softly. Ronnie's face went beet red. His knees felt weak and his brain basically short-circuited. "No, ma'am," he mumbled, voice barely above a whisper. The other boys watched with wide-eyed jealousy. None of them had ever gotten that far, especially not in 7th grade. The whole room was stunned into silence for a moment. Talia, looking oddly proud of herself, turned to the next person. Dale, truth or? 3 loud knocks on the door cut her off. There was no pause. The door swung open and Mr. Tommaso walked in wearing his grilling apron, a plate of snacks in one hand. Hey kids, just wanted to check on you and... He froze mid-sentence. His eyes slowly scanned the room. One boy dressed as a girl, one girl dressed as a boy, another girl frantically trying to pull her shirt back on, and his own son standing there in the bright yellow snow-white dress he had complained about Hikari wearing the year before. For a long, painful second, Mr. Tommaso just stood there, clearly processing the chaotic scene in front of him. A million thoughts seemed to race across his face at once. Mr. Tommaso stood there for a moment, taking in the chaotic scene. Then he let out a long, tired sigh and looked straight at Ronnie. Did they bully you into wearing that? Ronnie quickly shook his head, the big red bow on his headband wobbling. No, Dad. It was just a dare. Mr. Tommaso raised an eyebrow, then shrugged with a small, bewildered smile. All right then. You kids have fun with whatever this is. Just be safe, okay? He backed out of the room and closed the door behind him. The second the door clicked shut, the frozen tension in the room exploded into a huge collective sigh of relief, followed by nervous laughter. Everyone had been convinced they were about to get in serious trouble. Talia shook her head, still grinning. Hey, back to it. Dale, truth or dare? Dale's stomach twisted. He looked around at the other boys now stuck in girls' clothes and suddenly felt like he was next on the chopping block. He played it safe. Truth. Talia locked eyes with him and asked the one question that made Dale's heart skip a beat. Your friends are all dressed up girly now. Do you want us to dress you up too? Time seemed to stop. Deep down, Dale wanted it more than anything. He had always secretly fantasized about being made over by a group of girls, turned into a pretty girl surrounded by giggles and attention. This was his perfect chance. His friends had already crossed that line. The moment was right there. But admitting it out loud? That felt impossible. It would be the most embarrassing thing he could ever say. What if they laughed at him? What if they thought he was weird? In his mind, saying yes would destroy any claim he had to being one of the guys. So with a heavy pang of regret twisting in his chest, he forced out the lie. No, of course not. The room deflated a little. You could feel the disappointment in the air. That wasn't the answer most of them had been hoping for. Dale tried to recover some momentum on his next turn. When Hikari picked truth, he asked if she was still a virgin. She answered yes without much surprise. Honestly, everyone in the room probably was. Then Hikari turned back to him, looking a bit disappointed by his earlier answer. Dale's pulse quickened. If she dares me to dress up now, he thought, I can blame it on the game and finally get what I want without looking like I asked for it. But when she gave her dare, it was just, do 50 push-ups. Boring. Annoying. Annoyingly masculine push-ups. Dale felt a quiet wave of disappointment wash over him. It seemed like his secret dream was slipping away. Then, like a miracle, Beckett suddenly spoke up before Dale could even drop to the floor. Wait, no. If Ronnie and I are stuck dressed like girls, then Dale has to do it too. Otherwise it's not fair. In another world, that would have been a total betrayal of the bro code. But in this one, Beckett had just become Dale's hero. Hikari thought about it for a second, then shrugged with a mischievous smile. All right, new plan. Dale, I dare you to let us dress you up as a girl. Dale tried to look reluctant, but inside he was doing cartwheels. He sighed dramatically for show. Fine, if I have to. Hikari grinned. Dale, come with us. She and a couple of the other girls grabbed his arms and playfully escorted him out of the room toward her bedroom, already giggling with excitement. The sound of their laughter echoed down the hallway as they disappeared. Beckett and Ronnie, still sitting there in their own girly outfits, exchanged a look. They could hear the giggles and chatter coming from Hikari's room. Both of them wondered the same thing. Was Dale secretly in heaven right now? Or was he dying of embarrassment? They sat there awkwardly aware of the soft fabrics and bows they were wearing themselves, waiting for whatever version of Dale was about to walk back through that door. A little while later, the door opened and 5 giggling girls walked back into the room. When they had left, there had only been 4 girls and 1 very nervous boy. Now Dale was with them, transformed. He wore a soft lilac spaghetti strap dress that fell just past his knees, with a big oversized bow tied at the lower back like a cute belt. Sheer black tights hugged his legs, and he carefully took small steps in a pair of short black heels that clicked softly on the floor. Hikari's sense of style was all over the outfit. His medium-length brown hair had been parted and pulled into 2 short pigtails at the back, while his bangs were swept neatly to the side and held in place with a lilac barrette that matched the dress perfectly. A delicate black choker sat around his neck, and silver bracelets jingled on his wrists with little rings sparkling on his fingers. He looked surprisingly convincing, softer, prettier, and way more put together than the other boys had expected. Dale walked over and sat down between Beckett and Ronnie as if nothing unusual had happened, though inside he was secretly thrilled, his heart doing happy little flips every time the dress swished around his legs. My turn again, he said, trying to sound casual while fighting back a smile. He looked straight at Beckett. Beckett, truth or dare? Beckett, ever the confident and prideful one, didn't even hesitate. After dragging Dale into this earlier, there was no way he was backing down now. Dare. Dale grinned. I dare you to let the girls do your makeup. Beckett blinked, then shrugged. He knew some of the girls had played around with makeup for school dances and parties, but he had no idea how serious they could get. Still, he wasn't about to look scared. Before the girls could start, Beckett held up a hand and made a serious announcement. Hold up, I want to make one thing crystal clear. Dale and Ronnie are getting their makeup done too. I don't care how many turns it takes or if we have to go outside the game. There's no way I'm letting them skip this. You two might as well just sit down with me right now because I'm not letting it slide. Dale volunteered almost immediately, maybe a little too eagerly. Yeah. I'm in. Ronnie, still sitting there in his bright yellow snow-white dress, hesitated. He really didn't want to, but he could tell Beckett was dead serious. The thought of fighting it felt worse than just going along with it. With a reluctant sigh, he muttered, Fine, let's just get it over with. The girls lit up with excitement at this unexpected twist. They jumped into action like it was the best sleepover ever. Mary and Bridget took care of Beckett. He had a naturally pretty face that could pull off both masculine and feminine looks, so they kept it fairly simple. A few coats of mascara, which he made comically difficult by blinking constantly, some soft brown eyeshadow, and a swipe of pink lip gloss. He actually looked surprisingly good. Talia and Hikari worked on Ronnie. Since he was Snow White, they went all in on the lips, layering vibrant scarlet lipstick until his mouth looked perfectly shaped and bold. They added mascara, a touch of eyeliner, bright red blush on his cheeks, and as the finishing touch, sparkling golden yellow glitter across his eyelids to match the yellow skirt and stockings. Ronnie kept fidgeting with the petticoat, clearly embarrassed but trying to play it cool. Tessa, who turned out to be the most skilled of the group, handled Dale all by herself. She had him sit on a chair with his black tight legs crossed elegantly like a real girl. Dale couldn't stop smiling softly as she worked. The cool touch of the makeup brushes, the gentle blending, everything felt strangely nice. Tessa took her time. She used foundation, contour, blush, and highlighter to soften his features and bring out a more feminine shape. Her YouTube tutorials had clearly paid off. She chose a very light purple eyeshadow that looked almost white, added glittery pink eyeliner for a subtle sparkle, and carefully curled his lashes before applying mascara. The final touch was a bright Barbie pink liquid lipstick that felt cool and smooth as she gently painted it on. Every time the big soft blush brush swept across his cheeks, Dale felt a quiet rush of secret happiness. Since Beckett finished first, he got to sit back and watch the final touches being applied to the other two boys. The whole room felt charged with a strange mix of laughter, nervousness, and unexpected fun. From the outside, it would have been hard to tell there were any boys left in the room at all. The three of them sat there fully made up and dressed, looking surprisingly convincing in their borrowed femininity. Then right on cue, a loud voice echoed up from downstairs. "Dinner's ready. Come on down, kids." It hit them like a bucket of cold water. For the last hour, they had completely forgotten that parents were downstairs, even after Mr. Tommaso's surprise visit. Panic exploded through the group. The boys jumped up in a frantic scramble, desperately trying to strip off the dresses, tights, and heels. The girls jumped in to help, frantically wiping away makeup with whatever wipes they could find and shoving original clothes back into everyone's hands. There was a chaotic whirlwind of zippers, giggles, and whispered, "Hurry up." But no matter how fast they scrubbed, some evidence refused to disappear. Glitter stubbornly clung to Ronnie's eyelids, and faint traces of pink and red pigment still stained the boys' lips and cheeks. There was simply no time left to fix it. With hearts pounding, they headed downstairs looking as normal as they possibly could. The adults definitely noticed. Mr. Tommaso had almost certainly already filled them in, and the leftover makeup was impossible to miss under the dining room lights. Still, the parents played it cool, smiling politely, asking about school and acting like nothing strange was going on. The kids were silently grateful for the unspoken agreement. At the kids' table, the banter flowed easily, but everyone carefully avoided mentioning the game. No one wanted to risk setting off any alarms. Once dinner was over, the natural split happened. Kids back upstairs, adults staying downstairs with their drinks and conversation. The gang climbed the stairs and stepped back into the playroom, which now looked even more like a disaster zone than usual. Clothes scattered, makeup bags open, costumes half-stuffed back into the chest. They dropped down onto the floor in a loose circle again, the earlier energy slowly returning. "Any ideas for what to do now?" Hikari asked, looking around. Mary's eyes sparkled with mischief. "You know, while we were going through Hikari's closet earlier, I found this really cute red dress that would look amazing on Beckett." Beckett immediately put his hands up. "Nope. No more truth or dare. I'm done." Mary grinned wickedly, clearly not taking no for an answer. "Shli, I wasn't planning on giving you a choice." She turned quickly. Talia grabbed the red dress. "Tessa, get the lipstick." Then with a playful battle cry, she lunged at Beckett, tackling him to the floor and pinning him down with surprising strength. Beckett squirmed and laughed despite himself trying to wriggle free. "Hey, wait. Get off." At the same time, Bridget and Hikari started creeping toward Dale and Ronnie with matching mischievous smiles, ready to drag the three girls they had briefly set free back into the fun. The room filled with excited giggles and half-serious protests as the playful chaos threatened to start all over again.